to another episode of the Sealess Villains podcast. I am your host, AJ the Comic Collector, and I am here again with E-Man, Luke, and Red. Howdy, everyone. How are you guys all doing today?
Hey, doing good.
Hey, we got a new text line.
Yes, we do have a new text line. Red, why don't you throw that out for all our listeners?
It's 209-795-9579.
I feel like Mike Jones right now. If you guys don't know who Mike Jones is, that rapper who gave away his phone number and sold millions of copies. Now
I know who that is. Yeah.
I'm expecting calls and voicemail messages now.
Well, it's been up 2 days, so I figured someone's going to text, but I haven't received anything yet.
And we're life coaches, guys, so if you've got life questions for us, we're certified to help you guys out in any sort of personal problems.
We're not
I'm a certified person. I'm a
we're
certified person. I will help you out.
We're not certified. Just like you guys know. If E-Man answers any of your questions, just to let you know, he's not certified.
There's also beer connoisseurs. If you want,
Yeah, we're
you want tips on-
as well. Yeah, exactly.
If you want tips on beer, if you guys want tips on places to eat in the Bay Area, okay, I might be able to help. Other than that, life questions, if E-Man answers your life question, you might want to ask it one more time on your Instagram. Just to let you know, until you get the right answer. I think you just keep asking the same question until you get the right answer.
I love it.
again, the number is 209-975-7597.
I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, listen. This is not comic related, but life coaches, are they? They're not. They just say they're certified. There's no actual degree that they get. That's why I say we're certified, because we're certifying each other, right?
We're not certified.
Aren't those social workers?
Yeah, those are. I mean, you could get your social work, counseling, psychology.
I mean, I can create one. I'm pretty sure we have some comic book fans out there
I
that
don't-
can
I
draw
don't
one
think-
out for us.
I don't think Hitch, the Will Smith movie Hitch, he was certified for anything. He was just a life coach, right?
Oh man, but
All
he was
right,
good. He was
I
good.
got my PhD. Play hate a degree.
All right.
Never
Okay, I
in
guess
your
that
life
wasn't
say
funny.
that again. Never say
Assholes.
that again. Don't no. You're 40 plus. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Damn it.
The 90s has left us, Red. Just hold on to it in memory, okay?
All right, I guess in books.
Always in my heart.
Always in the heart.
All right, before we start talking about comics, I do need to make some corrections. Shout out to Jumpman209. He pointed out that Sealess Villains on Instagram was spelled incorrectly, the villains. So thanks for catching that.
Oh, so that's why a lot of people aren't able to find us on Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
gotcha.
my fault. I don't know why. That's the second time I've done that. I don't know. what's
Gotcha.
going on
Hey,
with-
reading is fundamental.
Yes, it is.
So it's C_villains.
Yeah, it
Right.
was Villiens.
Villiens.
I think you were spelling civilians.
Is it corrected now? Is it now corrected?
It's correct. Well, the username's corrected, but I can't actually change the name until 14 days. But if you search the username, it's correct now.
There. Now I
Yeah.
expect our IG fan base to grow just because of that right there.
Well, you should plug the other Jumpman's other IG, which is RDB Pops, which he deals in Funko.
Rod the
The
bod.
bod.
Shout out to RDB.
And another correction I wanted to make. Last week, I said the Tom Taylor run of Batman, where Batman and Wonder Woman were stuck in this universe fighting forever. It was actually Tom King, so I'm correcting myself on that. And it was actually 37 years. So for 37 years, it was just them two fighting a horde of monsters. And we don't really know what actually happened throughout those 37 years. So hopefully, Donny Cates will go back to that storyline someday. And if you want to read that storyline, it is issues 39 and 40. With that being said, guys, let's start talking about comic books today.
Yes.
So, question for everyone. Throughout our life, I'm sure we've come across people who found out about our love for comics and that we collect comics and that we read comics. I've even talked to coworkers and they've mentioned that they've wanted to get into comics,
Yeah.
but they just don't know where to start.
It's tough. It's it's overwhelming. Thousands of issues, and it's a daunting task.
What we wanted to discuss tonight is we wanted to recommend readings to our listeners. We actually got a message from one of our Instagram followers, and this person, Air Mattress on IG, wanted to know if we can recommend some comics to newbies. That's exactly what we're going to do tonight. Thank you, Air Mattress, and we are here to answer your questions regarding that. So, Red, why don't we go with you first? If you were to meet someone and they wanted to get into comics, what would you recommend for them to read?
Oh wow! I would ask them if they're into anything on TV first, because then I can expand on that
All right.
and provide a recommendation with the Walking Dead, which you can now get in compendiums or the single issues or the other 5-issue trades.
Now, Red, real fast.
Only they're zombie fans.
Real fast, just for the people who don't know, what exactly is a compendium?
Yeah, what is a
Compendium is a collection of 40 to 50 comics, which is pretty much a Bible size.
Bible?
As opposed to a trade paperback, which is...
Probably, I would think 2 to 5 issues of these.
Gotcha. A compendium would be probably about 7 to 10 trade paperbacks, so to say, right?
Around there.
Gotcha.
There.
Nice.
And then the next thing is the next TV show turned comic book I would recommend is Angel. Great show about vampires. Not your typical glittery vampire like Edward Cullen kind of deal, but still pretty.
Well, now with Angel, there's been different series, correct? So is there a specific storyline in comics or a writer that you would recommend?
I think the original Joss Whedon run for
Okay.
the season after they ended, I think, in season 5. It takes
Okay.
after that, so that start with that. And I mean, the trade themselves are around $5 a book, so you can find it anywhere.
Oh, that's dirt cheap.
Yeah. And then the next one will be Smallville, the 11th season. So if you're fans of the old Superman Smallville show, so pick that up. Takes after he became Superman officially.
So it's a continuation of the show, but in this comic, he's actually now Superman.
Correct, because at the end of the last episode, he finally, I guess, wears his tights and decides to fly.
What makes
All great
you
reads.
recommend these books other than they're based off of TV shows?
Well, it's a great start when you can binge watch the shows and then read the book, especially for Walking Dead, to compare the stories between the TV and the book. With Angel and Smallville, you're able to find out what happens after their last episode.
Right. Now, for Angel and Smallville, you would have to have watched the show then, correct?
Correct.
If I was to just read those right off the bat, would I be completely confused about what's going on then?
I would say a little bit, but it does pick up pretty well, and it gives you a little bit of a background from the TV show.
Okay, awesome. Are you gonna pick up the new Walking Dead colored version?
I'm still thinking about it. I mean, I already had the compendium. Why do I need it in color?
That's true.
I mean, why do people need second and third prints of Venom to have in the collection?
True, and so a small print run, then there's a little bit of value, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. But that's just being the, I guess the speculator.
Or the completionist.
I was gonna say completionist.
Yes.
Complete. If you're I'm a completionist. If I collect something, if I don't have that 100th of, if I have 99 of something, but I don't have the 100th, then my mind will go insane until I have the 100th.
Oh man.
It's like collecting Pokemon. Got to catch them all.
That's
I'm-
comic book
yeah.
ADD right there. So that's what it is.
I'm awful. I'm the worst.
What about you, Luke? What would you recommend someone who wanted to get into comics?
My first suggestion, or what I would say, is why do you want to read? Do you want to read to enjoy the stories, to enjoy the character interactions? Then, sign up for a Comixology account. Go read the digital versions. It'll save you a lot of heartache without having to track down the print books, which give us collectors so much so much weekly trouble trying to get. But if you want to jump in with both feet into the game, collecting paper issues, I would say walk into your comic shop. Just Google it, find your nearest one, and walk in and start at the top. Start with a Star Wars book, maybe a Spider-Man book. What are you interested in? If you don't have a lot of money, these shops have these dollar bins and even 50-cent bins. Even yesterday, I went and spent about an hour hunting dollar bins, and I found some really cool books. John Byrne, his Fantastic Four run, I found those all for 50 cents each. John Byrne, one of the most iconic artists. So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to collect? Is it for monetary reasons? Is it for the purposes of enjoying a story? I do it for both. I collect to sell and make money, and because I'm a art and story. I love these stories and these characters. It's just fun, and I love it when new people come in and want to join the hobby. So that's what I would say. Why do you want to collect?
What if they were just to say, I like going to the conventions, I dress up, but I know nothing about books other than wanting to dress up as Spider-Man or Thor or Iron Man. And they just straight up said, hey, Luke, give me something to read that's not going to be too complicated. I won't be lost.
That I would say don't jump into a run mid-run. So don't jump in like in the 30s or 40s of an issue. Try and find the number one and get caught up. And even if you just want to do it for the story, just go to Comixology and buy the issue digitally, and then get caught up with the story. And then if you want to buy the paper editions later, cool. But I would say, buy the digital copy first. Read it. If Spider-Man's your character, read that Spider-Man #1 on Comixology and start building your own database.
I mean, it's safe to say that 10 issues is an arc, correct? So they could start from
What?
I would say
Five.
5 to 6.
Yeah, 5 to 6 is usually, one arc.
So
Look
it's
at Thor,
safe to say
right?
they start on a number issue 60 or issue 30. At least it's a brand new arc from there.
That's true. That you are right on that. That's a good point.
Well, the thing about that is, if it's been the same writer the whole time, there could be plots that they've trickled in since the beginning, so you may not understand fully what's going on. That's the only issue with that. I would say.
About that, AJ, a lot of the times they'll still mention, like in that panel, hey, we're referencing, Spider-Man number 704, when we say this right
That's
here.
true.
So they will give you like a little bit of, hey, you know what, if you want to know a little bit more of what's being talked about here, go back and read this.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. All right, Luke, you've mentioned the John Byrne run on Fantastic Four, sir.
Yes.
What else?
If you're a Star Wars fan, the Clone Wars run is just fantastic. The Gilroy's the writer on that. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's a 12-issue run. It introduces some great new characters. Ahsoka Tano. These are more pricey issues, so you can find the trades for pretty cheap or buy the digital copies. But really, really, really emotional comics. It's good story. It's good art. I would highly suggest that.
How many issues was that particular run?
12 issues.
Oh, that's not even that bad. That's perfect,
one,
actually.
That's
That
one
would
to
be
two trade
that would be a
paperbacks right there.
great one shot of a new collector to jump into. And then if you wanted to chase the paper copies, it would be something fun to save your money for.
Luke, real fast, those Clone War comics, is it canon?
Now, it takes place in the animated series, The Clone Wars. So whether or not they're going to canonize it in the Disney universe, I think the verdict's still out because it was printed by Dark Horse. There are rumors of them canonizing it with bringing in Ahsoka as in future, but nothing is confirmed yet. Officially, I know we have rumors of maybe some castings, but no principal photography yet.
Okay.
Isn't Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka in Mandalorian season 2?
Oh, is she, or is that a new series, or is she in the Mandalorian?
Well, the Mandalorian, the second season. I thought I read that she's playing Ahsoka.
That would be awesome. I heard it might be a new series, but if she's in the Mandalorian, that would be even better.
What else, Luke? Anything else that you would recommend?
Jump into a Spider-Man run, jump into an older run like John Byrne's Fantastic Four, kind of a mid-2000s Star Wars Clone Wars. Really, those three would be my good kind of a spectrum of different runs to jump into. So,
Awesome. There you have it, folks. There's Luke's recommendations.
Hold on,
Unless-
Rosario Dawson is going to be on the Mandalorian as Ahsoka Tano.
There you go. Breaking news. Not
Breaking
really.
news.
Not really. But
That broke a while ago.
She wanted to confirm, guys.
thank you, Red, our fact checker for tonight.
breaking news.
Thank you for juggling it, Red. Appreciate it.
Rosario Dawson, if you want to get on the show, we're open. Actually, we'd have to look at our schedule, but I'm sure we can squeeze you in on an interview if you want.
Look at our schedule.
Rosario,
Whenever
I would-
she wants, we're gonna have her on. She's only available from 2:30 to 2:37 a.m. on a Sunday night. Done.
I'm
We can
waking
do it.
up at 2 a.m. I'm getting my
I'll wake
coffee
up at
on.
midnight just to get things ready for that.
I'm making
then I would talk-
I'm driving to Starbucks, getting my espresso.
And then I would bring up Clerks 2. I don't know why. I just probably will.
Was she on Kids? Was she on
She
Kids?
was on Kids too.
That was her breakout
That
movie.
was a
All right,
breakout
I'm
movie.
gonna have to question about Kids.
No, I know you. Oh no, Red, don't.
All right, fine.
No, please, for the love of God.
That movie scarred me. I'm just gonna say that. much.
It was pretty
Should
scarring.
have.
It
That's
was
what it
pretty
was
scarring.
supposed to do. It was supposed to scar
It
people
seriously,
our age. you
yeah, I was
know.
like, I'm not touching a girl ever again.
Don't worry, it's me, Casper.
Casper, the dopest ghost.
Is that what
Damn 90s.
was it? Casper, the dopest ghost. That's what. he was-
Dopest
Yeah, it was
ghost. Yeah.
dopest ghost. It was in the tub singing that. The dopest ghost around.
Oh man. All right, let's get back to comics here. E-Man, what do you recommend for someone who wants to jump into comics?
So I went ahead and took this from the perspective of someone who's watched movies, who knows about Comic-Con, pays attention to the entertainment news, but they're not avid comic book readers. So I went ahead and chose some books where they have some kind of familiarity with the character. However, it takes the character in a completely different route. So at least it's familiar yet different. So that's how I approach this. So I went ahead and have a top 3. My number 3 is Batman White Knight. This is written and drawn by Sean Murphy. Now, this is not part of the normal Batman continuity. This is a story about what if Joker turns good and Batman is blamed for all of the destruction that happens in Gotham. The story follows the Joker who takes a pill that somehow cures him from being a maniac and turns him into a normal person as treatment while in Arkham Asylum. Joker's new persona then decides to make a change and turn Gotham around the correct way. After he's released from Arkham, because he's cured, he ends up deciding to run for city council. Now, this alternate persona decides to do good. He finds out who the real menace to Gotham is and holds that person accountable. Now, Joker's persona says that he did that because he was forced into behaving the way he was in Gotham because of Batman. So this is kind of like a way to flip the story around to make it look like Batman was a bad guy, I guess, and to see if Joker can be cured. This run was absolutely fantastic. There's images in here that I just can't get out of my head. I thought that Sean Murphy, his art and his writing worked perfect together. And for anyone who wants to read a Batman story that's out there, I would jump into Batman White Knight. You can find that trade paperback on Amazon for about $15.
And there is also a second volume to that. Have you read that?
I've read it, The Curse of the White Knight. If you want to follow up to The White Knight, Follow it up with The Curse of the White Knight, which is also fantastic. I thought it was great.
And there's supposed to be from what I understand, he's writing a trilogy, correct? So there's supposed to be a third one, and that will end his White Knight run, I thought.
I'm not 100% sure, especially with what's happening with DC and them eliminating the Black Label itself.
Right.
It would be great to see him finish and do this as a trilogy because it was just beautifully drawn and the storytelling was wonderful. One character to really pay attention to in this story, in both of the stories, is Harley. Harley's story in there is also heartbreaking.
They'll probably adapt that to at least an animated movie, I would think, eventually.
I would hope so. I would so watch it. I would love to see I would like to see Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill do the roles again. That would be awesome.
I thought Mark Hamill retired as Joker, but
he did. If that I didn't know. If he did, darn, missed out.
well, it only takes a couple $1 million, and I'm sure he'd come back.
He will. Look, I mean, like with Luke, he's like, hey, here's some money. Why don't you come back as Luke Skywalker? He's like, all right. So it's anything's possible, right? Again, that's the running theme. Anything's possible. Number two. Okay, my number two. I went ahead and I was thinking about the younger females. I want her to get represented also in one way or another. So I was thinking about the females. So I'm thinking Volume 1 and Volume 2, drawn by Robbie Rodriguez, Spider-Gwen. The Spider-Gwen comics would be a great way to start reading a new story. Characters are familiar. Some of these characters, but again, different world. This is Earth 65, so it's a completely different take on your favorite superhero characters. So the ones, Gwen Stacy. People know Peter Parker, Frank Castle, Matt Murdock, but not like this. Now, this one right here is, like I mentioned, for the younger women who want to get started in something familiar. At the same time, something a little different. This is the adventure of Gwen Stacy as, get this, Spider-Woman, which she eventually changes into Ghost Spider later on. On Earth 65, Gwen gets bit by a radioactive spider instead of Peter Parker. And in turn, Peter Parker, get this, he ends up being the Lizard. Gwen and Peter end up getting into a battle, and Peter dies. We find out Peter dies. Unfortunately, what happens is Spider-Woman gets blamed for Peter Parker's death. She didn't get praised for killing the Lizard, so people don't know. So in this run right here, at least for the first 2 volumes, they're after her. So now this is Gwen trying to clear her name, at the same time still trying to save people and do good. So this is a nice run. Like I said, it's a different take on a familiar set of characters. And if you want to jump in on something where it's like, hey, you know what? I want something that I kind of know, but I want something new. Volume 1, Volume 2, Spider-Gwen, great place to start.
And your third? Or do you have more than 3?
I have my number one pick. My number one pick is Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples' saga from Image. If you like Star Wars, if you like Game of Thrones, if you like a book that is fantastical but yet relatable, this is one to pick up. This, as crazy as it sounds, I think is more of a family story rather than an adventure or a book about, one person trying to kill somebody else. This is a family who's just trying to live and people are not letting them. This is about a mother and a father trying to raise a child from 2 different factions who aren't supposed to be together. And they're being chased because they have this child who wasn't supposed to be born. And they go from planet to planet just trying to find a place to keep her safe. This book is more Star Trek than Star Wars, in my opinion, because of the way they go to different planets and exploration. This is a wonderful, wonderful book to get started. I got a couple of people reading it. They want more. They're waiting for issue 54 to come out. When's the next issue coming out? I can't believe that happened at the very end. This book ended about 1.5 years ago. What? 2018 September, and we've been waiting for the second half of the story from Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. We're not sure when they're going to start it up again, but it definitely ended on one of the craziest cliffhangers I've read in recent comic books.
Awesome.
And then 2 honorable mentions. Rick Remender and Jerome Pena's run of the Uncanny X-Force, which is issues 1 through about 19. And We Only Find Them When They're Dead, #1 from Boom Comics. Check that one out. That art is great. I talked about it on an episode before. It's only 1 issue right now, but honestly, if you're going to get started on something brand new, jump on this book and stick with it.
Awesome. Now, I wanted to ask you, have you heard of the Image comic book Tokyo Ghost?
I have
Okay.
not read it. I have heard about it.
If you're a fan of Rick Remender and you're a fan of Sean Gordon Murphy, I highly suggest that. It is a story written by Remender with art by Sean Gordon Murphy. Basically takes place in like a Neo Tokyo future. I thought they were going to actually make that into a ongoing, but it's only a mini series. I believe it's either 6 or 12 issues.
No, it's 12. It's 12 issues.
Is it 12? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I recommend
with a bunch of variants.
Yeah. I would recommend reading that, E-Man, since you are a Remender fan and
I do like Remender.
Sean Gordon Murphy fan.
And the Remender's run on 7 to Eternity was fun.
I think it's still going, is it?
Nope, it's ended. It ended with
really?
issue 12 or 13.
Oh, okay. I have to pick that up then because I stopped, I think, halfway through. I didn't know there was only going to be a miniseries. So
Yeah, halfway through was a little weird because they switched artists for like 3 or 4 issues, I guess, to let Jerome just try to catch up.
right.
But once Jerome came back on board, it was pretty fun.
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Oh, yeah, going back to Tokyo Ghost. If you like Ghost of the Machine, that's what it feels like when you're reading the story.
Yes, I could see that. Yeah.
I like how I said Jerome, like Jerome Pena is one of the homies. Like, Jerome, they have to give Jerome a break, And Jerome Pena, if you're listening to the podcast, please, you're more than welcome to come on board. Any ideas we say, you can go ahead and use, courtesy of the C-List Villains podcast. Thank you.
Give credit where credit's due, guys.
So I've got actually a list of books here. First off, I'm gonna try and go with the Marvel/DC side. Then I wanted to move into the indie books. And the way I'm going to break it down is by teams. And when I say teams, I'm talking about writer and artist. The first team that I recommend anyone who wants to get into comic books, these are all standalone stories. You should be able to find all of these trades. They're fairly easy to find. But the team of writer Jeff Loeb and artist Tim Sale. If you have not heard of them, I suggest you look them up. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, they did a Batman run. I had the 2 trades. First one being Batman The Long Halloween, and the next one being Batman Dark Victory. Now, the thing about it is, I don't want to give too much away. They're almost a retelling of Batman in his early years, and the art is really amazing. Tim Sale's art is not like a Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, 90s art. It's not like this big bombastic art.
Over the top, big
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah. I would say that the art is more, I guess, noir. It's got a lot of the color palette is very dark, and it's got a very classic art to it. Next thing that I would recommend for anyone is the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale run that they had in Marvel. When they did some Marvel books, they did a Spider-Man storyline, they did a Daredevil storyline, they did a Captain America storyline, and they did a Hulk storyline. And The Spider-Man storyline was called Spider-Man Blue. Daredevil was called Daredevil Yellow. Captain America was Captain America White, and I believe Hulk was gray. I've read all of them except for the Hulk one. They're not origin stories per se, but they are stories that, much like the Dark Knight, much like the Batman books that Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale did, they are stories of the past, earlier adventures of these characters. The one that really stuck out to me was the Spider-Man Blue. I'll just give you a brief rundown of how it starts. Basically, Peter Parker is recording something on a voice recorder, and he's talking to Gwen Stacy because Gwen has already passed. Peter Parker is already with Mary Jane, and he's retelling a story regarding his relationship with Gwen Stacy and with Mary Jane while when Gwen Stacy was alive. It's actually a very, I don't want to say heartfelt story, but it does get you in the feelings. So I recommend anything from Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. They are a great team. Next thing I wanted to bring up was, not a lot of people think about Hawkeye as this great character, correct?
Yeah. Everyone's like, "Oh, Hawkeye, you don't have special powers. I don't even know
Right.
why you're on the Avengers."
Tier 2,
You know?
tier 2 for sure.
Tier
Tier 2,
3.
yeah.
You know,
Oh.
the movies
Ouch!
made him tier. Hold on, wait. But the movies made him a high tier 2. You know, where in Endgame, I think he may have been violently pushed into a tier 1, but that's because of his Ronin.
So you're saying he's not worth the second round draft pick?
Ooh,
I'll
I don't
just say
know.
this: if
Low,
Hawkeye
maybe
met
low second round.
if Hawkeye met Homelander, he would get his eardrums popped.
See, that's why I think Hawkeye. And you know what? I know someone specific who's gonna hate me for this, especially because she loaned me the fraction version or the fraction read of Hawkeye. But yeah, he's not the most powerful.
And speaking of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, that was my next recommendation. It's essentially issues 1 through 20. I actually have all the trade paperbacks on them. It's 4 volumes, and it's basically Hawkeye storyline where he's battling, I guess, street level heroes or street level villains, I should say.
But he's also training. He's training someone.
Okay, but I mean he's training someone, yeah. But the main story is he's battling street level villains, and he's protecting his apartment complex. I mean, that's all I could really say. It is a very good storyline. It's only 4 volumes, and I highly recommend this book. The art is the one thing that I've noticed about a lot of the books that I'm recommending. The art fits the story. It doesn't have to, like, not every comic book has to be loud and bombastic. These are more grounded stories, so the art does not have to, it matches the storytelling. And if you do want something a little more mainstream, I guess you could say, a little more normal as far as the superhero books, I do recommend the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo run on Batman. You don't need to read the entire run, but at least read the first 2 volumes. They are the Batman Court of Owls and Batman City of Owls. It'll give you a new perspective on Batman, and the art is amazing. It's, if you are looking for the single issues, it's essentially Batman issues 1 through 12. I've never, at this point when I was reading comics, I had not known about Capullo or Snyder, and this was my entry into their storytelling. And Capullo is an amazing artist. They really work well together. If you're looking for just a straight superhero book, Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo.
That's a great run.
Yeah. Now, E-Man had talked about Saga, which is written by Brian K. Vaughan and art by Fiona Staples. If you are a fan of Brian K. Vaughan and the storytelling on Saga, I would also recommend reading Why the Last Man. It's not his first book, but I would it be fair to say that was the book that pretty much put him on the map.
I didn't read it, but when I looked up Saga and I wanted to know more about the writer, Why the Last Man was the one that almost every website kept bringing up. Like, if this is Why the Last Man's writer, Brian K. Vaughan. It tells me that series was probably one of his best series that he's ever written. But
Yeah, it's great. It's a great book, or it's a great story. The rundown of this is essentially one day, all the men just suddenly die, except one person. And he is the last man on Earth. And he's essentially traveling the world where it's just run by all women. And it's his adventures through his eyes of being the only man left in the world, really.
Was there a Fox show about that?
There was supposed to be. And I
Okay.
believe they filmed the first episode, and I don't know what had happened. They canceled it before they even aired the first episode. So it was supposed to be a series. I believe they filmed at least one episode from what I read. But
And this
I don't-
isn't The Last Man on Earth, right? With Will Forte. This is
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. That's
no, that's not it. That's not it. There was a Why the Last Man adaptation that I believe FX did have, and they filmed it, but they filmed, I think, the first episode, and it never came around. But no, it's not that book. It's not that
show.
show. But I think it's very similar to that. But that show was more a comedic take on that storyline.
on Why the Last Man.
Yeah.
And both written 10 years apart, interestingly, because Why the Last Man, 2002, Saga, I believe 2012-ish? Yeah, right
Wow,
in there.
Saga's been around since 2012.
2012, yeah.
Wow. I didn't
Isn't that
realize
crazy?
Yeah.
They're done, but they'll be back. I think they're going to take probably a 2-year, 3-year break, maybe.
Yeah, I heard it's two. I don't
I'm
knock
waiting for them to come
taking a
back.
break.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to come back. There was so many rumors that they were having creative differences or that they were having issues, and I did honestly, I don't want to hear that. I just want them to really finish it because Brian K. Vaughan has already said that this is going to be 103 issues, the total run, and then they're going to be done with it. But we're still waiting now for the second half.
Right. Another book I would recommend. These are now Image books, so they're not DC or Marvel. Deadly Class by Rick Remender. I think there's a recurring theme here that we're pretty big fans of Rick Remender's
Rick
writing.
Remender fans on the podcast. Look at that.
Some Remender fans, yes.
Rick Remender, if you decide to be on the podcast, please come on in. It's okay. Any ideas we come up with, they are
You're
yours.
welcome.
You
Please
are
come.
welcome to use them, just as long as you're on the podcast. Thank you.
Deadly Class is a story about basically we've seen this story before. It's a school of teenagers where they're just taught to be assassins. I know that that's something that we've seen already in a lot of other comics or movies,
Anime, Japanese movies.
Yeah. But this
especially
is
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale.
Ooh, don't get me started with that.
But this is different. It is different. There are, you know how like in high school there was the jocks, there was the punks, there was the freaks, the nerds. That's essentially Deadly Class. So it's a high school full of assassins. They go to class learning how to kill people, but there are cliques. And the story is basically focused on this main character named Marcus, and I guess you could say it's his story of how he's adapting going to this school, because he pretty much was just thrown into this, whereas a lot of the other characters, a lot of the other students, they kind of grew up in this violent world where their families had already had ties to either the mafia, or they were gang members, or they worked for the FBI. So the kids had already had some sort of experience in this. Marcus was pretty much just thrown into this from the streets. Again, I'm going to throw out another book that I've been constantly talking about, Nailbiter. It's basically a story. Rundown is small town in, I believe, I want to say Oregon. Basically, this small town has had a history of having notorious serial killers. And the whole mystery is, why is this particular town so vested in creating all these killers? And you get to learn the history about this small town. And it's they say it's a horror comic, but I would call it more of a thriller. I'm hoping that they would adapt this book eventually on TV. Lastly, I wanted to talk about a book that I'm currently reading, Manifest Destiny. I believe there's 7 volumes right now. Each volume is 6 issues, and I actually have 1 through 6, and I am reading volume 5 currently. It's essentially a retelling of Lewis and Clark, but they are facing monsters and supernatural beings, and they're trying to, I guess, discover America, but they have to go through all these supernatural adventures. And I don't know where it's heading to because I haven't finished it yet, but it's an entertaining read, and I highly recommend that as well. One other thing that I wanted to recommend. It's actually very different. There's no superheroes involved in this. It's just a weird, not a weird story, but have you guys seen that Joaquin Phoenix movie, Her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a strange and yet wonderful movie.
I have not seen it, but I feel like I've seen it.
Okay. So if you've seen Her and you're a fan of the movie, I recommend reading Alex and Ada. It's essentially about this guy who essentially forms a relationship with a robot, and he gains feelings for this robot. And it's only 3 volumes, so it's about 18 issues, maybe 20. It's different. There's no superheroes involved, nothing, no one's saving the day.
Okay.
It's just a straight relationship book. But if you like Her, I would recommend that read.
Hence
Does
the
it
reason
take place in the mall? I mean, is it like Mannequin, where he kind of like comes
Okay.
to life?
You know what? If you were to put Mannequin and Her and combine it, and maybe not so much a comedy but more of a drama, I guess.
millennials are not going to understand that at all.
There was another one? Ex Machina was almost similar, right?
Ex Machina. I can
Oh,
say.
Ex Machina.
Yeah,
that's
Ex
right.
Machina. Yeah,
The movie.
Ex Machina.
Now,
yeah.
there is a Brian K. Vaughan Ex Machina comic book. That's not what we're talking about. But
No.
the Ex Machina movie. That
Yeah.
one was crazy. Ex Machina, the movie with Poe Dameron. What's his name?
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. That's right. As the crazy tech genius who came up with the
And the
lifelike dolls.
the Star Wars, the Rebel, or not the Rebel, but the Empire General. He's the main character.
An Ex Machina?
Yeah, the main character was in the last Star Wars trilogy. The guy that always went, he was the guy that helped the rebels.
Oh, Lieutenant Hux.
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 Hold on, wait. Hux was. Oh snap! He is.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the IMDb right now.
He's also a Weasley. He's part of the Weasley clan on Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's part of. Yeah, that I know. Oh, I did not know General Hugs. For those people who watched the movie, was in Ex Machina with Poe Dameron. That's crazy.
Yeah,
And then we also have Alicia Vikander, who played Lara Croft. Just throwing that out there. Why? Because
Oh, is that who she was? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, she was Laura Croft in the reboot.
I see. So yeah, if you're a fan of, I guess, Ex Machina, her, you want to throw out for anyone who grew up in the '80s, Mannequin.
Hey, but okay, I don't want to spoil it, but it's okay for him to get the girl at the end. Okay, just again, not spoiling it, but what happened at the end was all right.
So yeah, Alex and Ada. Other than that, those are my books that I recommend for anyone who wants to get into reading comics. I tried to throw in a little bit of everything in there. I threw in some superhero books. I threw in some non-superhero books. I threw in some indie books. So yeah, I think that covers everything as far as that, right, guys?
I just realized it's a guy that has sex with a doll.
In Mannequin?
Yeah, in Mannequin.
And Ex Machina.
Well, they never had sex in they never had sex in Mannequin though.
They didn't have sex, but
kinda
it
like-
could be implied at sex.
Hold on, it's almost like Weird Science, also,
But it's
right?
a family show.
Like Luke said, it's a family
Yeah.
show.
Wait, our show is a family show, or
we're trying to.
Yes, our show, Seedless Villain, family show.
I'm not gonna go into details, but yeah, that's what it feels like when we're talking about this.
Look, if we're also bringing stuff up like that, Weird Science was also kind of like that too. Okay, just saying that for the '80s crowd.
You were old.
Shut up.
you guys think millennials even know about those movies?
No.
Honestly.
The hipster millennials may, because they're all about trying to go back further, right? But millennials, I don't know. I don't think so.
Unless they grew up in the '90s where they had a black box. And
Unless,
they were able to
yeah,
actually
or unless they had
on
like,
HBO. And cinema.
Millennials
Unless they
don't
have-
even know what a black box is.
unless
I
they
would
have a
say-
sibling.
Millennials are the ones that are born in the early '80s.
Late '80s, early '90s.
We're talking
What's the
about
old-
Gen Zs.
What's the oldest age for a millennial?
38.
34?
38. Maybe.
34, 35.
38.
Wait, hold on, man. Wait a minute here. Hold on. Well, Luke's the teacher. Luke.
Luke looks in the gray area because he's born in '79.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
I'm like the no generation.
No, or okay, okay.
Wait, we were all
Side-
born in '79.
Side
No,
side
no, you
convo.
two were.
So yeah, you two were. Red's 78. I'm 77. I'm the old one here. Wow.
People
I
try
just
and-
aged us. I just aged us.
You mean
Yeah,
I was
forget those
born in
guys, man. They're hella
99.
old.
I was born in '99. I don't know what you're talking about.
Man, I'm
AG the
young.
comic collector was born in '99.
Well, we just lost 4 or 5 listeners because of that. Thank you very
We
much,
lost,
Red.
we lost 0 listeners.
But it's okay. I'm hoping that we gain like 97 more because
Yeah.
of that. You know.
Younger listeners like some age and some perspective. Trust me, nothing to worry about.
We're fine wine. We're fine wine, not box wine. We're fine wine.
We're fine.
Thank
wine.
you.
We're fine. I like that. We're fine. Wine.
All right, we're getting off topic. Let's move on to some entertainment news, guys.
Oh, great week in entertainment. Great week in
Yes, I
entertainment.
agree.
So the two biggest things that have actually come out of Marvel. Jonathan Majors possibly playing Kang in the next Ant-Man movie, and Tatiana Maslany playing She-Hulk
Oh,
in
yes.
in Disney Plus.
I
Now,
like that.
3. Well,
I
there's
don't-
actually three big announcements, but
what's the third one?
the
Unless-
AMC, the Undone by Blood.
Oh, well, yeah. Here's the thing, though. It's those things. I'm always kind of weary because we don't know whether or not it'll actually get into production. But that is a big news. I know it's picked up by Norman Reedus's production company, correct?
Yeah, Norman Reedus it's in first look production, which means they don't even have a pilot scheduled yet. They have a script scheduled. They're going to look at the script, and then if they like it, they'll make a pilot.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I need to. What? What are we talking about? Who did what with where?
Undone by Blood, a comic that Norman Reedus, his production company, it's a Lonnie Nadler Aftershock book, and it's brand new. It actually just came out this year, so you guys can still find that book. Find the Undone by Bloods. I really feel it has some good legs on it.
Undone by Blood. Okay, I'm
Undone by Blood. It's a modern day Western, basically.
Okay.
So it really will feel like it will fit right in with what Norman Reedus is all about, with kind of a tough guy wearing a cowboy hat and carrying a 6-shooter.
Right. Oh, is he planning to star in it as well?
Yes, there is actually. They said we want Norman as our lead.
Oh wow, okay.
How's that gonna fit when he has to do another the Walking Dead spinoff?
That's my question as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I was
But
thinking too.
but if they do, if they could do an 8-episode season and have it over the summer.
True. And if that Carol, what if they called it Carol and Daryl?
Carol and
Yeah.
Daryl, yeah, Carol and Daryl.
If they did a Carol and Daryl Walking Dead, they could cut that down, because I know normally it's a 24 episode season, but if they cut that down to like maybe 10 to 12, that's manageable, and then he can film the other show. So
yeah, because they did the same thing with the Preacher. There was eight episodes per season for the last 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
Something like that.
it'd be possible since there's only 5 books. I mean, it came out in February of this year.
Yeah, and besides that, we've touched on the Marvel announcements. Now, to tell you the truth, the Kang announcement, that's not for sure, right? We don't know what character the actor is playing. It's rumored he's Kang, but Kang has not been for sure the character
Majors.
he's playing. Is that correct? Yeah, Jonathan Majors. I'm sorry.
But see, Kang has been something that they've been talking about for a while.
It's been
Talked
like,
about. It's
talked to
something.
death.
Yes, it's one of those like, all right, that's Thanos level right there with Kang. So it has to be. It can't be anyone else, because he's supposed to be playing the major villain. That major villain. Get it? See what I did there? See?
I get it.
No pun intended, or should I say pun intended? Right?
But it was, like Luke said, it was talked to death that Kang is the next big baddie, and that does make sense. And Luke, don't you watch Lovecraft Country?
Oh, great show. I've been an H.P. Lovecraft fan for as long as I can remember. And they are really nailing the spooky creepiness of it. Jonathan Majors is killing it. I am just over the moon about that casting. I love everything he's been doing in that series. And really, he's only really been in 3 years, maybe. So he's really a new up-and-coming actor, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think Marvel's smart to sign him on. If it's for Kang or if it's for someone else, lock that guy down. He's got a tremendous future.
What about She-Hulk announcement? What are your guys' thoughts on that? E-Man?
I absolutely love that they chose Tatiana Maslany for this one right here. She, with her playing Orphan Black and all the different characters in that show, it tells me that she has range. I'm not worried that she's going to be able to portray Jennifer Walters appropriately. I'm not worried about that at all, just because she's already proven to me that she can be so many different personas, and she did every single one of them well. So, and she's got the TV show, what's it called? The TV show Credentials, exactly.
42 to be exact.
40, see?
42!
And she did them all great. So
Wait, Orphan Black was 42 episodes?
no,
she's been in
42 different personas.
Yeah, individual.
Oh, okay.
There was
Productions or
Okay, so real quick, sideshow.
Yeah, I've never
Orphan
seen
Black,
the show, so I
great.
don't know what.
It's a good watch. It's a good watch. I've gone through,
Okay.
and I didn't really finish it just because there was other things that came up. But the first season was great, and it just kept going. But yeah, with her, with Marvel choosing her, yeah, I'm not worried about it at all, at all. I think she's gonna kill it.
And ironically, 2002, she starred with Val Kilmer, one of her first roles.
See, she already has comic book
She
experience.
starred alongside Batman.
She's
ready to go.
Batman. Granted, not the best Batman, but she was with.
Okay,
Batman.
the worst Batman. Let's all say.
No, Clooney's the worst Batman.
Yeah, Clooney. I would think that.
It's a
You
tie.
know what?
It's a tie.
Including Kilmer. Come on now.
Yeah, really. Yeah, let's not argue over who was the worst between
That's
those
splitting
two.
hairs.
That's another episode.
Is it? Can we just go ahead and say they were both the worst? Just
Hey, but Val Kilmer played a great Mardigan.
Well, come on now. I'm not going to argue that. That is all time right there.
Yeah, that's the best character ever.
That's one of the best movies ever. Yeah.
Here's my only thought about the She-Hulk TV show. When they've done standalone Hulk movies, they have not been box office successes.
Never. Yeah.
So I know She-Hulk is a completely different character and she keeps her intelligence. So I'm hoping that it won't have that same effect that the movies have had as far as the Hulk movies. So
Yeah.
that's my only concern because I don't know her stories. I don't know what compelling stories and her who she has to go against in the comic books. So
I personally would like to see Jessica Jones in this show.
Ooh, nice.
I would
That
like
would be
to
a
see.
great team up.
It would. Or if anything, because in the Jessica Jones TV show, her lawyer ends up getting cancer and dies. Well, she doesn't die yet, spoiler. But she has cancer. She's gonna need to find another lawyer. And then on top of that, because of the things that Jessica Jones does, she kind of needs a lawyer on her side and maybe needs to be out in the public with her.
I like that idea.
So
that
Jessica
is a
good
Jones.
idea.
They're
Yeah.
already
know.
restarting Daredevil onto Disney Plus.
Well, there's
I think
talks
the rest
about
of-
there's talks about Charlie Cox and Disney kind of talking about him reprising his role, but we're not 100% sure yet.
He should. I don't
The
understand.
rest of the Defenders.
They should bring back all of them.
The only thing with the Defenders is that Netflix has some kind of contract where they are still in control of those characters for I think up to 4 years after the last episode of one of the Defenders TV series. So Netflix technically still has rights for a little while until it reverts back to Marvel.
It can't be that much
At least
longer. It's
4
got to
years.
be like another year or two.
Yeah, that's why they're planting their seeds now, so that way we can get. Charlie Cox was amazing as Matt Murdock. To be honest with you, he was just fantastic.
Nah, how about John Berthal as Punisher?
Oh,
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
that's right.
Honestly,
He's good, but not as good as Daredevil.
if
Yeah.
anything, the only bad casting that they had was Iron Fist. Let's be honest. That just wasn't good casting at all.
That was an awful casting.
Even Luke Cage, I thought they did wonderful with the casting for Luke Cage. His character's great. He just didn't have that great of a show.
Yeah,
I-
his
you know-
his writing was a little off.
Yeah.
His writing.
The
I
writing
didn't-
for that show was
I didn't watch that series, but I had heard that, and I mean the show's been off for quite some years, but the main villain that died early on, that's who they should have kept as the main villain for the show.
yeah.
And
Diamondback.
if they would have kept that would have made the story good. Is
But
that correct?
here's the thing that confuses me, or maybe kind of solidifies that the Defenders and the Netflix verse is not tied into the MCU, because that character Diamondback is played by Marshala Ali, who in turn is going to be the next
Blade.
Blade.
Next Blade, yes.
Oh, okay.
And then on top of that, his cousin, who plays some kind of city council woman who's corrupt, She was the lady that Tony Stark runs into in Infinity War after he does his speech with MIT downstairs.
So many
by the
connections.
elevator.
I love this. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
So it was
Someone
weird
did
to
their
see
homework.
her. It was weird to see her in Infinity War because I'm like, wait a minute, she already played a character in Luke Cage. So there's a little bit of confusion there for the people who are actually following.
There's synergy now.
Bam.
Okay. Well, I did not know any of that. You've just proven how much of a nerd you are, but that's all right.
Bam! I deserve to be on the podcast. Nerds.
Well, okay.
Love it.
Quick question: what's the difference between a nerd and a geek?
There's a distinct difference between a nerd and a geek, and I think the nerd's got something to do more with intelligence, whereas a geek could be a geek of anything from video
That's what I
games.
was. That's what I always thought because I've never considered myself a nerd, but I would call myself a geek.
Yeah. Geek is more of a person who's an uber fan of something, and it could be any kind of fandom, whereas a nerd is one who's thoroughly intelligent and speaks intelligently and only speaks intellectually, and he just can't get around that. And then a geek only speaks geek. They speak comic books. They speak
All right. Okay.
video games. They
You
speak-
lost.
We get it.
You lost me, man.
Mood on that one, guys.
Let's move on to the last topic of the night.
Editing that one out. Thank you.
Oh, leave it.
Let's move on to the last topic of the night. This week's picks of the week. Luke, I understand that you haven't been able to go to any shops, so
The wildfires up here in the Northwest have just been crazy. Still, in fact, I waited until almost 5 o'clock at the shop yesterday. Still had not got their books in from last week.
Oh man.
So it's been a
Oh,
crazy.
man.
I went to 5 shops. Nobody had got their books in yet. It's been rough for the Northwest.
but you were able to pick up a few back issues though. So
Yes, I picked up a few back issues. And really, that's what I want to encourage, guys. Go hunt those back issue bins at your comic shops. Ask and talk to the owners too and say, do you have like dollar bins that you haven't put out yet or 50-cent books I can go through? Sometimes they will say yes. And I actually picked up some really cool books yesterday from the 50-cent bins. Some an Iron Man 219, which is the first appearance of Ghost.
Oh, what?
What?
Yeah,
50 cents.
that's a steal.
But that's
Insane.
but Ghost is different in Iron Man than
In
the Ant-Man
Wasp?
movies,
No, it's
right?
the same
Same,
ghost.
same character.
Oh, same character? Oh, wow.
A Thor 224, 50 cents.
Why is that one special?
It's just a Bronze Age Thor.
Oh, okay.
It's probably like a $10 book. This is my favorite one. It's Batman El Hombre Murcielago Presenta Flash from 1974. A Batman, Spanish book.
Se habla español. Sí.
I brought that up just for you. Fully in Spanish. For 50 cents. So you guys be nice to your comic shop owners. They will be nice to you. Public service announcement.
Luke, quick question: the shops that you go to, because all the shops that I go to, they don't have these back issue bins. Are never this old. It's more, the last 20 years, if that. What's your experience in finding all these Bronze Age books? How are you able to find them?
I always ask the shop owners when I go in, and I'm upfront about it. I say, hey, I'm a small fry reseller online and looking for cool books. Do you have any cool books here that you haven't put out yet or that I could go through? And a lot of times these shop owners will have 200-300 long boxes in the back that they have not even put out yet, that they don't have time to go through.
Oh, damn.
And they'll hook you up. Now, I usually don't do it the very first time I meet them. You have to develop a kind of a rapport with them.
Right.
But as long as you're cool with them and you develop that friendship over a couple months, then they'll hook you up.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I get on my store too, because all over the boxes in the front of the store. Finally got cool with the owner, then he gave me access to the back where he keeps all the gems. the older 30-year books were just stored back there. And he has another warehouse that I might be able to get access to later. So I'm waiting for
I'm
that.
gonna have to fly down for that one.
I was just
hey,
gonna
hold on.
say.
Wait a minute. I
Yeah,
live
let's
close enough to
all
you,
go
Red.
there. Let's
I
all
live
go
close
there.
enough to you. What's going on here? Hold on. You need to give me a
Well,
call.
it's out,
Sea Villains podcast day.
exactly. So I was talking to my man Al's Comics in Stockton, and that guy is 97 years old and still going strong.
Oh, I love Al.
Nice.
Hopefully he's gonna open up that warehouse and
Pick and choose.
Nice.
It's a pick and pull of comics right there, hopefully.
oh yeah, dude, he's got books from the 70s because he started that store around 1972, so he's been in business for a while. Plus, all the books that come in because people sell their collections. You get to go through all that too.
Yeah, he's got some gems in there for sure. For sure. Red, did you pick anything up this week?
Not physically. I ordered on eBay. I picked up Star Wars number 6, the first appearance of Luke Skywalker's yellow lightsaber.
Didn't even know he had a yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, I guess it's gonna be canon.
Which one is that? The new Marvel Star Wars?
Yeah, the new Marvel Star Wars. Trying to get the picture here for you guys.
You've heard it here first. Star Wars 6, the new Marvel run.
And then let's see here. An Iron Man blank, Iron Man number 1. I guess they're gonna restart the series. A Thor number 7, which is someone has a new weapon. I forgot what it was. And the store that I bought it from has their own exclusive, which is a Scott Campbell variant of Boba Fett for Star Wars number 1.
J. Scott Campbell?
G. Scott Campbell.
Okay.
I'll send you guys the link for that later today.
What about you, E-Man? What'd you pick up?
So, from our friend Mr. Luke Weeks here on the C-List Villains podcast, I'd like to start that I was able to pick up a few back issues from him. He went ahead and put a Spider-Man 1 set together for me. Hey, Luke,
Yes.
the Spider-Mans that I got from you, which ones were they?
Oh, yes. Sorry. The Torment.
Torment.
The number 1 set, the black and the green set.
Black and green.
The McFarlane?
McFarlane. Yep, the
covers?
McFarlane.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I was able to pick that up from our friend Mr. Luke Weeks here on the C-List Villains podcast.
That is like my crack. If I see that book, I can't resist.
And then I went ahead and picked up a Clone Wars number 1 free comic book day. Actually, I picked up 2 of them from Luke. I was like,
Yeah, you bought both unstamped ones, and I realized you bought my only unstamped.
I bought the 2 unstamped. You said unstamped, and I was like, I'm getting the 2 unstamped right there.
I was gonna keep one, and I realized, shoot, I sold both of them.
I honestly thought that you had like 3 or 4 unstamped. That's why I went ahead and grabbed 2 of them, Luke.
No, it's totally fine if I sell something on my sales. Because I even, in my last sale, I sold a Last of Us number 1 for $2. And I do it's called a hidden gem. I'll do it sometimes in my $2 sales. And that's like a $75 book.
Not the comic, the video game, The Last of Us?
The Last of Us video game comic book number 1 is a $75 to $100 book.
Oh my, and someone got it for $2?
I sold it for $2.
RKFA Comics on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, follow Mr. Luke Weeks. You might get a gem out of that.
What was the reason for selling it for $2 again? Can you repeat that?
I call it the hidden gem of the sale. And I do that every once in a while because it really, it just keeps guys interested.
Yeah, I bought a Avenging Spider-Man, and I think it was a hidden gem one, and then the number 9 was in there from you.
Yeah, you got that one, and I also sold a what's that one? The first Blue Marvel, Mr. Blue Marvel.
Oh, no way. You sold that one too?
An Atom, something like that. That's a really big. I sold that for $2 last year.
Oh, my goodness.
I throw these in there.
That's
every
an
once in a while.
amazing deal, guys.
I throw these in there every once in a while just to keep guys.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure employees of the C-List Villains podcast are eligible for these sales, correct, Luke?
For the RKFA auctions, yes.
So make sure that I'm not excluded from them. My son has been asking for those books. That's why, you gotta get them for my son.
Nice. The blue Marvel that's a really good pickup.
Yes, and honestly, it's basically like buying advertising for your sales because then the word does spread.
Wow,
It does.
man,
That group has grown about at least 4,500 people now.
That's awesome, Luke. That's so awesome. Congratulations to you, man. RKFA Comics on Facebook. You guys need to follow that to get these $2 gems when they do come up.
Yes, absolutely.
And speaking of growing the community, we are still wanting our community to grow as far as the C-list villains. So as a reminder, follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook now. And we also have that number.
209-975-7597.
Awesome.
Call and text.
Thank you, Red.
No sexting.
So lastly, I'll go with what I picked up. I only picked up 2 books. 7 Secrets issue number 2 leaves off with a cliffhanger. It's very saga-like, even now more so that now that I've read issue number 2. Also, Batman 99. I know that myself, Luke, and E-Man have been talking about this run. It's pretty much the second to last storyline for the Joker War. It leaves it off in a not much of a cliffhanger, but the last page is really worth your money as far as what happens. And I can't wait to read the last issue on this Joker War. I've actually made a mental note that I think after this Batman run, and when I say this run, I'm talking about the James Tynion, I think I'm going to take a break from reading Batman books.
I kind of feel you on that a little bit. I'm actually, I think 100 issues. I kind of feel like they're going to do a restart again and force us to go back to number 1, which I'm a little worried about.
I'm going to keep reading the Tynion run, but it's not ending at 100 because I believe 103 is the first full appearance of Ghostmaker. So Tynion's still got quite a ways on this current run. I just don't know how many issues he's planning on writing. But yeah, I think after the Tynion run, I'll probably take a break from reading Batman altogether. Like I said before, I've been reading it since the Capullo run, and I don't want to say I'm burnt out, but I think I need a pause after this Tynion run.
Need a break.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
With that being said, guys, I think we've covered everything.
What about me? I didn't talk about my pickups.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, E-Man, why don't you cap off the night with your pickups?
Hey, thanks a lot there, AJ. I'm glad you asked me about my pickups of the week. Because I wasn't done.
Yeah,
Right.
dick.
Okay, so just real fast, I went ahead and picked up Thor 7, Batman 99, Big Girls number 2. I'm liking this run so far. It's a very interesting story about 300-foot women fighting men who are monsters at about the same height. So it's really interesting. I picked up a new book called Stillwater number 1.
I've heard about this. I've heard about it.
I'm not going to give a review on it just yet. I kind of want to see where it's going. 7 Secrets number 2. I'm with AJ on that. Very saga-ish. Fun read. A little upset with some of the storytelling within the book. Things that didn't make sense to me. But I'm going to let you guys read that one right there. Batman.
Like what, if you don't mind?
They took the kid away. And they were supposed to be keeping him separate from the parents. Yet...
They're
as
trained
he
by
got
everyone
older,
else, right?
yeah, the kid is trained by everyone else, including the parents. And no matter what you do, they're going to have a connection to each other. If you were supposed to take the kid away from the parents, you should have kept the kid away from the parents. So I have
That's
an
a
issue
bit
with
of a
that.
plot hole, yeah.
Yeah, I have an issue with that right there. But we'll see what happens, you know. And my comic book shop called me earlier, and this one's waiting for me in my pull list. Batman Grave number 9. Not reading this series at all, but I mentioned it on an episode before that this is a Stephen Platt cover. We haven't heard that name in a long time. And I remember mentioning that I liked Stephen Platt's art. So Batman's Grave, number 9, with the cover by Stephen Platt. I just wanted that one for my collection, to be honest with you.
He only did that cover? Like he didn't do a cover for all the other issues?
No, he only did it for that cover. Or for that issue. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
And that was my pickups.
All right. Well, I think we've got everything covered, guys. Once again, guys, we want to thank all our listeners, and we ask that you recommend all your friends to listen to the show, whether or not they read comics or not. We try to keep this entertaining, and we want to build this community, and we want it to grow. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the C-List Villains Podcast, your cultivators of the comic culture. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. All you got to do is search for Sealess Villains. If you want to send us an email, you can contact us at sealessvillains@gmail.com. And make sure you follow Luke Weeks on Facebook and Instagram, and join his Facebook group, Rare Keys and First Appearance Comics, also known as RKF Comics. I'm your host, AJ, and you can find me on Instagram, AJ the Comic Collector. Thanks, and see you next episode. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Sealess Villains Podcast, your cultivators of the comic culture. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. All you got to do is search for Sealess Villains. If you want to send us an email, you can contact us at sealessvillains@gmail.com. And make sure you follow Luke Weeks on Facebook and Instagram, and join his Facebook group, Rare Keys and First Appearance Comics, also known as RKFA Comics. I'm your host, AJ, and you can find me on Instagram, AJ the Comic Collector. Thank you, and see you next episode.